The Guild of Media Arts is effectively the steward, really, for the designation from 2014. And our senior partners in this, the two other founding organisations, are the City Council and Make It York. But we work with a very large number of other partners, including obviously the universities. One of the issues is, how do we see a creative city locally in York? How do we see our designation? And I always come down to, it's not really a title, it's not a prize or a tool, but I then can't decide. It's in one way, it is a challenge to us, the city, to behave a certain way. In another, it is us making a promise ourselves to future generations. So one of the issues with thinking about the research that would help us understand ourselves is that it's a lengthy process. It's a very complex process with many actors, a bit like the process of industrialization in Britain, or indeed the long-term process of urban conservation. Whereas many researchers want to say, well, what is the organization? What are its limits? What were your key performance indicators, etc.? One of the benefits of thinking about this much more complex entity, though, is that it brings in many more perspectives. And the ones I've listed here are not by any means all of them. So it is really good to hear this afternoon people with relevant approaches and insights from many of these disciplines. There is a trend nationally, I would say, towards understanding the role of culture and creativity alongside other broad aspects of society, the economy, society itself, the environment. Many ways of looking at the creative city internationally want to rank them. And one very good international measure is the one produced by the European Union. This uses a whole range of indicators, many of which Richard Florida, the Creative City movement, would find quite congenial. It includes measures of social justice and equity. If you can scroll through that and you can find York's position, and you could say, okay, well, we're more successful if we're in a better position than we were last year or a decade ago. Within the UK, the Treasury has somewhat belatedly begun to ask itself how they should value culture. Having done some initial work on the environment, they're now looking at ways in which they can measure what they're calling non-use value. This is where you might even value the existence of a museum, not because you intend to use it, but you think it's a good thing, it's around for other people, and you are implicitly happy to pay for it. So we've got the Treasury and we've got these rankings kind of converging in a way around the value of creativity amongst other things. So knowing our place will be the overall aim of a multidisciplinary study, I guess. And this is a map of factors held to be part of the origins of World War I, one of the most famous instances of shifting ground when it comes to what was significant and what was not. We then look at what comes up within the creative city, and there's already been reference to housing and whether it's affordable or not, and the factors that are affecting the policies of the York Central partners. But I come down at the end to this being about people and relationships between them and their well-being, seen as economic, social, environmental, and cultural. In our country, we tend to only look at economic and social, but as you might be aware, there are other states that are using all four elements, such as New Zealand, and they're trying to come up with balanced policies which look across all of those. That would put creativity at the heart of our development in the right sort of way. On the right is an illustration from Mikhail Colville-Anderson's blog posts. His slogan is life-sized cities. So the challenge is broadly this. York is one of 246 cities in this network now. We're concerned about the whole population, not the impact of expenditure. And one quite good question to be asking in York, given that he was a founder of the university and the director of the Institute for Advanced Architectural Studies when it became part of the university, and the Landscape of Ideas from 1972 simply aims to look at the impact of human ideas on what surrounds us. It's that kind of scale of interest that makes me suggest that York could be a natural laboratory for looking at the significance of all of these activities. So that's it in a nutshell. Thank you.
Many thanks.